Guys, Shogun is actually returning. What the hell is going on? News about Shogun Season 2 has just come out, and I don't know how to feel about it. One part of me is filled with joy because the show was just incredible, but another part feels like this is wrong because there's no source material. Let's talk about the recent news regarding Shogun Season 2, whether the show should or should not have a second season, what the plot of the new episodes would be about, and who would return from Season 1. Season 2 Renewal. Since the Shogun finale was released, the show's creators have almost always spoken cryptically. They were happy to have created a great adaptation of James Clavell's novel, but also said stuff like, "I think if we had a story, if we could find a story, we would be open to it." It was obvious that they left the door open for a second season, but they weren't sure what the new season would be about since they finished telling the story in Clavell's novel. I was one of the fans who believed a new season shouldn't happen precisely for this reason. There's no more source material. I don't want to experience another Game of Thrones level disaster. But it looks like Hiroyuki Sanada has bigger plans. Sanada played Toranaga on the show. He was also one of the producers behind the series. According to Deadline, Sanada already made a deal with FX to return to the screen as Yoshi Toranaga. Deadline also stated that other elements are still being worked out and deals are being finalized to officially renew Shogun for a second season. Honestly, if Sanada has already hopped on the ship, I think this is already official. The showrunners have never outright said they wouldn't do it, so it's plausible to believe they will also come back for the second season. Season 2 Plot. When people first discussed what a potential second season could be about, they thought James Clavell's other novels in his Asian saga could also be adapted. However, none of his other novels include John Blackthorne or Yoshi Toranaga. People still argued that even though the characters wouldn't be the same, the show's overall atmosphere could have been preserved with a similar setting, and perhaps each season would focus on a different novel. However, Hiroyuki Sanada returning as Toranaga basically throws all of these possibilities out the window. This means we will follow him again as one of the leading characters in the story. The story that makes the most sense for Season 2 would be the Siege of Osaka in 1614, which was the event that solidified the real-life Toranaga as Shogun. And it's his final fight against Lady Ochiba and Taiko's heir. It's such a grand historical event that could very well be made into a 10-episode long season. It would also include faces from Season 1 besides Toranaga. Lady Ochiba would be there, the heir would be there, but they would have to hire an older actor since the events take place more than a decade after the Battle of Sekigahara. Most importantly, John Blackthorne would be there as his real-life counterpart William Adams remained in Japan and died there in 1620. We can see Buntaro fighting alongside Toranaga, which is something I wish we could have seen in the final episode. My biggest problem with the second season is that it won't include characters like Fuji, Mariko, and Yabushige, who were, in my opinion, much more enjoyable to watch than John Blackthorne and, dare I say, Yoshi Toranaga. Yabushige especially just made the show so different and fun, and he became my favorite character. New Shogun episodes without him and his grunts just don't make sense. Mariko too was a crucial part of the whole story. Shogun without her wouldn't feel the same. This also means that there isn't any source material for what happens next in the story. The writers will have to develop their own stories based on actual historical events. This usually ends in disaster, but there's a small possibility it turns out to be successful. Should Season 2 happen? Of course, FX would want the show to continue. It ended up being their most watched show ever and sat at the top of lists for weeks. So they want the money to continue coming, I get that. But a second season is likely to ruin the legacy of the first season, which had such complex and ambiguous storytelling thanks largely to James Clavell. I can see that people online are divided as well. I am torn about this. On the one hand, I would love more Shogun. On the other, continuing the story past the source material could be a disaster. Should just leave it as a limited series. Continuing will take away the compliment on how good it really was. The first season of every show is always the peak. The downfall always begins from the second season. I hope they bring good writers and don't ruin the good story they had in Season 1. I think if they're really careful about the story development, this could be great. I trust Sanada-sama to only sign off on this if it's going to be quality. Terrible idea, already covered the whole book, why do this? As much as I'd like to see it, it won't be the same without Anna, so why?
私たちはそれぞれに辛抱の仕方が違っております。
I found myself agreeing with every comment. This is a big gamble. I hope they make it a good one. What do you guys think about this? By the way, if you're wondering what happens to the main characters after the Shogun finale, I have a video on that. Go check it out. See you soon.